My man! Welcome to the show. How are you? Really excited as a parent and as a person of color to have our guest today. Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, guys, what's up? It's Irfan. I'm really excited to introduce our next guest. Her name is Ginger Allen. She is the founder CEO of, let's see here. I know I'm going to mess this up. It's Ginger, say the name of the company.
Your Marketing Liaison.
But it's short for the short version is YML.
Yeah, YMLteam.com is the website. Yep.
YMLteam.com. So, Ginger, the reason that I was really excited to connect with you was because, number one, I read a little bit about you, and your name was brought up through a colleague of mine that I work with. She's also in Las Vegas. Her name is Eileen, and I think the world of her. And usually when she says, hey, you got to talk to this person, she's usually spot on. And so I said, yeah, absolutely, sure. And then I looked at your background, and you do something pretty interesting, because breaking into the specialty that you're in and being effective in it is not necessarily easy. So let me sort of take a step back. Why don't you share a little bit about what YML does, and maybe then segue into how you got started? Because there's probably 50 other things that you could be doing with your time that are easier in some ways.
Sure. So I have YML Team stands for Your Marketing Liaison. I also own Your Medical Liaison, and my niche is medical marketing. And I started 10 years ago specializing in working with physicians and also other professional services, attorneys as well. And we can work with any kind of business, and that's kind of the Your Marketing Liaison brand. But the Your Medical Liaison brand specifically specializes in helping physicians grow their practices. So we work with small businesses, typically 1 to 5 doctors. So it is very niche, and it is difficult in some senses, in the sense that, doctors by nature don't really understand marketing and get frustrated by it, or unfortunately have been taken advantage of unscrupulous marketing agencies. So it's been my mission and I'm proud to say I maintain, after 10 years, of 5-star rating. It's really been my mission to show these doctors that, there are a lot of marketing companies out there that have integrity and do what they say they're going to do. And I know you run a company like that as well. So it's been great. And, the one nice thing about it is recession proof. So when, COVID was happening, one of the benefits of being in this niche was, my doctors were still working, even though if they weren't doing elective stuff, they were still in their offices. So we didn't have a lot of the losses that a lot of my other marketing friends were suffering in their agencies. So yes, there's definitely pluses and benefits to it. And I would just say that, for all marketing agencies out there, for me, I've found that having a niche has really been beneficial.
There's a lot to unpack there, because early on, I had physician clients, and I had other friends at agencies who'd worked with physician clients. And if someone is unfamiliar of the nuances of working with a medical practice, they can really fail despite their best intentions, right?
True.
And that has to be, some of that is due to just what's endemic to working with the regulations with healthcare, and there are a few of those in terms of what you can say, how you can market, what you can say. But there's also this perception that working with physicians is, they're all highly paid, they're going to throw around their money, and it's going to be great, and everyone will win. And that's part of it. And then there's also some folks who've been a bit jaded from working with physicians who say, gosh, this doctor, he just thinks he knows everything, or she, and, they want stuff for free. And, they don't really understand that it's not, doesn't necessarily work like that, that they're used to being wined and dined, and I just don't want to work with physicians again. These are all things that I personally have heard. And other folks have said, you know what, there's the sales cycle in working with a medical practice it takes forever. You pitch them, you talk to them, and then 6 months later they might want to work with you, and you don't know what's going on. So, and I'm not saying that in a pejorative sense. These are sentiments that are out there that I'm just saying, let's be transparent. And if there's somebody out there like you who has actually figured it out, but understands the nuances of working specifically with physicians and how to make them successful, then let's share some of those learnings so that we can all benefit, because the market is really big out there, and certainly physicians need help, right? They're not superhuman. So
Absolutely.
do
Yes.
you
And I'd
agree
love
with
to,
those statements? Do you think that I'm being unfair? I'd love to know.
well, yeah, let me dispel one myth, and that is that physicians are not millionaires. Okay, people think that physicians are really wealthy and making a ton of money and then throw around a lot of money. That is not the case. Okay, most physicians, they make a good living, but they are not millionaires. They are not wealthy. You have the outliers, once in a while you get a really neurosurgeon, an orthopedic surgeon gets really famous and has a huge practice. Yeah, maybe he's a millionaire, but he's the outlier. So, physicians by nature obviously are very smart people. They've worked very hard to get to where they are. They've sacrificed a lot to get where they are. They are used to being a target for people that want to take advantage of them. So they are by nature very, very cautious. And so yes, I am blessed in the sense that I started in medical marketing, and my husband also happens to be a physician. So I really understand the life of a physician and how much they sacrifice. And the joke in our house is that everybody gets to make mistakes except for physicians, because when physicians make mistakes, people die. And so there's a lot of emotional and mental strain that are on physicians that people don't understand, the pressure that they live with every day, in addition to running a practice and how expensive it is to run a practice, and all of the legal ramifications that go with running a practice, and the expenses of, malpractice insurance. I mean, it is a extremely stressful profession. And for anybody that doesn't believe that, I know you have some family that are physicians. I'm here to tell you it is an extremely stressful profession. So understanding all of that, when I go in to meet with them, I right away am able to relate to them and let them know that, my husband's a physician. I understand how much they've sacrificed. I understand how hard they work. I'm here to let them know that I'm going to be honest. I have integrity. When I tell them I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And so that immediately allows them to relax a little bit. And yes, it is a very intricate type of profession. So you kind of need to know the ins and outs of how, the office works and how the referrals work. And, I like, I work with specialists. So I like to say that, specialists make the most money, but the primary care physicians have the most control, right? Meaning, if you break your hand, who are you going to call? You're going to call your primary care guy to refer you to a specialist, right? So the primary care guys are really running the world of medicine. And then you have the specialists who make a little bit more money, but so I typically work with the specialists. So I really, love working with physicians, because I know that they're not millionaires and I know they need help with their business. And so I'm able to kind of bring it down to that level and say, what can we do to make you more successful? And, so, and we talk about that and the purpose of my work and what makes me different, than other businesses out there.
Let's sort of talk about the typical life cycle of an engagement for a medical practice or a physician with your firm.
Okay.
So at the very beginning, how do they find out about you typically? Is it word of mouth? Is it
Google.
Field agents? What, is it Google? How do they do it?
Yep. So most of my referrals, like most agencies, is word of mouth. So being referred by other physicians, they find me on Google or they see me in Facebook groups that are medical related. So yeah, I use all the channels and I practice what I preach. So I do Google AdWords, I advertise on Facebook. And so I do the things that I need to do to reach my target audience. And I believe that's important, as an agency, to practice what I preach to my clients. And so, yeah, I find them through all those channels. One of my clients, actually one of my most renowned client, we met on LinkedIn. So yeah, all the channels.
Got it. So they find out about you, they reach out and say, hey, Ginger, I've seen your work, I've heard about you, would love to set up an appointment. So it a Zoom call or in person, depending on where they are, I'm guessing.
Yep.
But what are some of the most common challenges that prospective clients come to you with, the ones in healthcare, the physician practices that come to you? They say, hey, our website sucks, or hey, we're not getting any patients. It's where we all we do is elective procedures, and this is a problem. We need more foot traffic. We don't have Google reviews. What are, if there's a top 5 of what your
Yeah.
typical physician office practice, etc., needs, what are those things?
So number one is we need more patients, right? So because I work with specialists, they need more referrals. And so I'm working again, mostly B2B, but they are looking for more referrals from their primary care community. And so that's the number one reason why they come to me. A lot of them do need help with website, or they want to have a social media presence. So we get that as well. But ultimately, most physicians, if they're going to want marketing, or if they need marketing, it's because they want more business, right? Once in a while, we'll get somebody that just wants a website and that's all they want. And, that's fine too. And I have helped quite a few physicians and other professional services that kind of get into these situations with, and I'm not putting down the larger agencies, but sometimes the big corporate agencies kind of put them on these, programs where they're paying these really high monthly fees for some basic services. And so and again, I work with small businesses. So remember, they're looking for ways to maximize the ROI on their investment. So I, help them to get them into more, affordable budget, as far as building them a website, an affordable website, putting them on an affordable hosting plan, those sorts of things. So yeah, all of the above, but the main thing is we need more patients.
Do you typically do an audit when you go in and say, hey, these are looked at your website, I looked at this, I looked at that, here's the things that I think are good, here are the things that are bad? Or do you just go in and wait for them to tell you what they think they need, and they're like, hey, we just need patients, just get us some patients, Ginger, we don't care about all the other fluff?
Yeah, we always do an audit. And because I just like to look at their total online presence and see, a lot of physicians will say to me, well, why do I need social media? And I say, well, to increase your online presence. Well, does that help my SEO? Absolutely, it does. So, I look at their overall online presence. One of the areas, and I'll touch on that in a minute, is they really suffer in reputation management. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute, because I'm going to dispel another myth on there. But we do an audit, and a lot of times, I'm going to be honest, I will look at what the other companies are doing, and they're doing a good job. And if another company is doing a good job on a website and they're charging a reasonable rate, or if they're doing their social media and they're doing a good job and they're charging a reasonable rate, I'm not going to try to take that business, because I want to treat others as I would want to be treated. And, I collaborate with a lot of other marketing agencies, and I respect other marketing agencies. And if there's doing a good job, there's really no reason for me to go after that business. So I will say to the physician, whoever's doing your website is doing a good job. Whoever's doing your social media is doing a great job. But the field marketing that I do, we call it field marketing, is really what sets me apart and makes me unique. And we'll go into that in a minute. But going back to the reputation management, so a lot of doctors suffer on the reputation management side. And what that means is they have bad Google ratings. And the reason why they do is because physicians are very well known to not want to ask people to leave reviews. They just feel that it's unprofessional. They don't feel that, it's something that they should be asking for. They don't really even, encourage their staff to do it. So therefore, because they're not asking their happy patients for the good reviews, the only thing they ever get is bad reviews. And it's typically, I would say 95% of the time, staff related. And what I mean by that is, we had to hold on the phone for a long time. We had to sit in the waiting area for longer than we anticipated. The person at the front desk wasn't friendly. And it breaks my heart, because these physicians are great physicians. I mean, they are, they're really good at their trade, and they're top of their class surgeons or whatever. And, their ratings are in the 2s and the 3s because of staff issues. And we all know that staff shortages are tough. And we know that these, entry-level positions, there's high turnover. So their ratings really suffer because of it. So I work really hard with my physicians and the office managers to understand the importance of reputation management, and that, for them, they don't maybe feel comfortable asking their patients to leave reviews, but their staff certainly should be, because you wouldn't believe how many patients walk out every day of these offices and they're at checkout and they say to the checkout person, "Oh my God, he's so great. He helped me. He saved my life. He did this, he did that." And they're like, "Okay, great. Have a nice day." What a missed opportunity. And so I really encourage them to put it upon their staff to just say, "Oh, I'm so happy to hear that, doctor did a great job for you. When you get home, would you mind taking 2 minutes and leaving him a Google review?" And so that's been a real work in progress for me, because, and you've got HIPAA compliance. So a lot of doctors are afraid to get involved in reviews because they don't want to offend HIPAA and all of this stuff. So, I like to say that to people because I want them to understand, when you see that a doctor has a 2 or 3 star rating, look at the reviews. 95% of them are not because of the physician. Okay. It's because they have staff shortages. It's because the staff is, not being, because of wait times, because of all of the things that we deal with on a typical day in a physician's office. It's not because the physician's bad.
No, I completely agree with you. I would even go further in saying that many of those reviews are simple human to human conversations that could have been ameliorated in a span of 1 or 2 minutes, and that person must have been having a bad day, could have written that review at the height of an emotion they were having. And it's really unfair, I think, that many physicians get obliterated on Google that has nothing to do with their bedside manner, their skill, or the patient care that individual received. It's to do with, "Oh, the parking garage was really tough to get to," or "the elevator, took too long," or this or that. All these sort of peripheral things that do not impact the level of care that individual received. And so bringing the conversation back to the integrity of these individuals who are just held to oftentimes an unreasonably high bar for any of us, right? And what's even more heartbreaking sometimes is that they themselves believe it and try to strive to reach these unattainable, low patient wait time. You're giving water and snacks, and where does it end? Let's get real, right?
Right.
So I thank you immensely for bringing that. So let's talk a little bit about, I don't understand field marketing, and I know that you help specialists get referrals through this process that you've developed and nurtured and perfected. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So we are not a traditional marketing agency. And what I mean by that is our main core business is field marketing. And what field marketing is old school door-to-door marketing, where people are physically going door to door. And obviously it's not random, it's targeted door to door, and advertising on our physicians' behalf. We've also done attorneys, we've done all kinds of different businesses, and we've done some consumer stuff too, but the main part of it is business to business. So for physicians, I'll give you an example. So we used the example earlier of how the primary care physicians are in control of the medical industry, right? So the primary care physicians are the ones handling the majority of the referrals. So if you're a hand surgeon and you want more hand surgeries, my team goes out into the community, into the geographic area of that hand surgeon, and we go and we talk to the primary care physician's office, and we speak to the referral coordinator or the office manager, the person in charge of handling the referrals. Typically, the physicians, are not directly sending the referrals because they're too busy, but they have a list of people that you can refer to and a list of people not to refer to by nature. And we build the relationship with the staff. And then we also do what's called physician to physician ride-alongs, where we actually take the specialist out with us to meet these primary care doctors. And that is the number one way that they get referrals. So that's the core of my business is, and I'll give you an example of a non-physician related company that we did field marketing for. It was a large format printer, and they specialize in the big signage and the stuff that most print shops don't do. And so we went out to all of the local mom and pop and the smaller print agencies and let them know, hey, if you have any large format printing that you need, please refer to our large format printer. So any kind of B2B type referrals. We also do it for attorneys. So let's say you're a personal injury attorney. So we would go to attorneys that do not do personal injury, for example. They do family law, they do estate planning, they do all these other types of law, but they don't do personal injury. So we would develop relationships with them to get the referrals for, people that they have. We would go and speak with the doctors. We might go to urgent cares. We might go anywhere that a personal injury person may get referrals from. So yeah, so any type of B2B. But so what happened is when I started my field marketing, and the way I learned about field marketing was I actually did it for a radiology group. And so I had been hired as an in-house marketing person for a radiology group with 22 physicians. And so my job was to go out, to call on the primary care practices. And I thought, oh, this would be a great idea for a business. So I started the agency, to do field marketing. And then what happened is my physicians would say, well, could you do a website for us? And I would be like, yes. And then I would go and find somebody that specialized in building websites. And then they asked if I do their social media, and I would say yes. And then I would go find somebody that specialized in social media platforms. So along the way, we've done everything from billboards to PR to building websites to creating your brochures. And there pretty much isn't anything in the marketing spectrum that I haven't done for my physicians, but that's how it started. That's how the agency started.
That is really cool. I can almost visualize you in that, that eureka moment where you're sort of transitioning from doing it for a practice group to going and doing it on your own. That's really cool.
And the other reason why I decided to do it on my own, just a side note, is most physicians, if you're a single individual physician, like I told you, they don't make the money we think they make, cannot afford to have a full-time professional marketing person in-house. Now, if you're a group of 5 or more, sure. But if you're a under 5 group and you want marketing, it's really unaffordable. So what we do as an outsourced marketing agency is we bring an affordable marketing service to them that's not a hard, hit to their bottom line, and so that they can have a marketing person on their team. So they love it.
Very cool. I would imagine that these individuals that are doing the field marketing really have to know their stuff, not only just the wherewithal and interacting with physicians. They're very busy. You've got a short span of time to get their attention. Are they actually interfacing with the physician themselves at these places, or are they talking to other folks?
Great question. So the answer to that is no. They are typically not interacting with the physician because, like you just mentioned, the physician is very busy. So we typically speak to the referral coordinator or the office manager, and they're the people in the office that are actually directing where the referrals are go. So I always tell people, physicians do not have time to say, I want my radiology to go to this company, and I want my labs to go to this company, and I want my ortho to go to this company. No, they're too busy. So they have a list, like I said, of people that are kind of approved. They have a blacklist maybe of doctors that they don't want to work with or they don't feel comfortable working with, but they leave it up to the in-house team to direct the referrals. Now, when we go out with our physicians, yes, then the physician will meet with us, and they will usually give us, 5 minutes of their time out of their clinic day to do a quick meet and greet. But you're right, my team does need to know what they're talking about. Even though we're not speaking directly to the physician, we still need to know what our client does, how he does it, all of the intricacies of the office and all of the team players. So most of my people are ex-pharma reps, or they have worked in medical marketing before. I have a few people that have come to me that had no medical marketing background, but then I train them myself. And, it's just, for example, I have a vascular surgeon in Las Vegas, and we have 5 physicians in their group, and we do their marketing. And we need to know all of the things that they do, but it's more important to know the symptoms that they treat, right? So, we know that they can help people with vein problems. We know that they can help people that are, smokers or diabetics or people that have heart conditions. So that's we're dealing more in the layman terms. So if they say, one of my physicians does a procedure called a TCAR, which is a very specialized stroke prevention procedure, right? So we know he does it, and we could tell people he does it. But if you were to ask me, do I know exactly what TCAR, how exactly he does that procedure? The answer to that would be no, because it's so high level. But again, the people that we're dealing with in the offices aren't going to be needing to know it at that high level either. But if a physician comes in, then we have our physician explain what TCAR is, and it's all good.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely makes sense. What are the biggest objections your team gets from primary care physicians?
Biggest objection.
Or maybe there isn't one.
I mean, we don't get a lot of objection because we're bringing them information that's beneficial to their practice, that's going to help them when they need information on the referral side. We have people like anybody else in the world that are just plain rude. They're just not happy people. And so they're like you mentioned earlier, maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe they haven't had lunch yet, and they've been really busy and they just don't want to see us. So they might say, I don't have time to talk to you right now, or what is it you have to sell? Or, we get that kind of objection, I should say. But again, we're going in to let them know about a service that, that they can utilize in their practice. So for the most part, everybody's pretty receptive. They're used to it from the pharma reps.
Yeah.
So they have to, so they're not sure, is this a pharma rep, or, who is this person? So the pharma reps kind of helped make that transition for us a little bit more soft. But, you get the typical objections. And then once in a while you have, well, we only work with so-and-so. We wouldn't refer to you. Okay. Or they don't take all the insurances that we want them to take, so we're not going to refer to you. I mean, or, we've heard of him, we don't like him, or, whatever. We get those kind of things. But for the most part, people are pretty nice, right? I mean, in general. So
what are the incentives? What are the benefits for a primary care physician to say, yeah, or the patient coordinator, the referral coordinator, rather, to say, yeah, let's get signed up? Or what is that process like?
No sign up. So there's no financial obligation or financial collaboration or there's nothing financial. It's all kind of a gentleman's handshake kind of a situation. Wow. So what I like to say the benefit is that a lot of times doctors now, they're so busy and everything, especially these primary care guys, are seeing 50 patients a day, right? So when a patient needs to be referred to an ortho, and the doctor, the patient says, can you refer me to an ortho? The doctor may not know an ortho. Okay. He might not have a personal relationship with an ortho. So he might say, Google, orthopedic hand surgeon, and he's going to give you the top three guys that come up on Google, because he doesn't have a relationship with one. And so my job is to have him build relationships with specialists. So when he needs to refer, he actually knows somebody, he knows his credentials, he knows where his practice is located. And the other really cool thing is they get each other's cell phone numbers. So if there's a question about this patient, or something comes up, or something is stat, or, hey, I need to get somebody in right away, they just text each other. And so sometimes they even become friends and start playing golf together. But that's not the norm. The norm is they just have a professional relationship where they know each other's credentials. They know where their offices are. Sometimes the office managers will become connected, which really helps with patient flow, because, trying to get through a medical office phone line nowadays is somewhat challenging. So yeah, so the benefit is just really to the office to have a relationship with specialists so that they can refer with confidence.
Do you do events and other things to have it be more I
We
don't know, fraternal, or I don't even know the right.
we've had open houses, we've done networking events. That's really not my specialty. I don't, I wouldn't call myself an event coordinator, but, like, for example, I had a new physician, she's a general surgeon, opened a practice in Las Vegas. And so she was, new, she had just retired from the Air Force. And so it was, she was brand new to the market. And so we had an open house. And of course, I invited everyone in my network, and I asked everyone in my network to invite everyone in their network. And so she had about 75 people show up to her open house of a general surgeon. I mean, and so this is, and she had food, and, she showed everybody around the clinic and so forth. So yeah, we do those kind of things, but, big events and stuff like that, I will bring in an event coordinator if they want to do those kind of things. Because that's not my specialty.
Is it typically physicians that are opening up a new practice, or just recently are completed residency, that are more receptive to you, or is it just everybody equally?
I have a mix. I have a mix of, people that are in startup, people that have only been in practice a few years and want to get more business. I've also got practices that have been in business for a long time and they have a great brand recognition, but the senior guys are bringing in, new guys to kind of take over and run the practice. And so they need to keep the numbers coming in to support all of the families that they need to feed. So I've got a mix. We don't typically work with primary care physicians too much because they get so much business from their their insurance panel referrals. But like, I just helped a guy here in Boca Raton who's been in practice for 30 years, and he wanted to open a concierge practice. And so I'm helping him. We built his website. We're helping him launch his concierge practice. So once in a while we'll get like a primary care guy, but it's usually a mix. But yeah, I mean, the guys that have been in business for a long time and they're super busy and they've got a 3 to 5 month waiting list, they don't need me.
Got it. Fascinating. I find it so interesting when you can identify a niche and build a successful business for yourself around just serving that niche better than anybody else in the marketplace. And it seems like that's what you're doing now. Or do you have field agents nationwide? Because it seems like this business, if it's not already on its way to scaling hugely, could easily do that. Whether or not that's your goal or objectives is a different story. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So yes, we are nationwide. So we do have nationwide support. So I have offices in Las Vegas, Nevada, and Boca Raton, Florida. And of course, we support physicians all over the country with online, but we also can do field. So we have proprietary app that we use, which is like a CRM on all of my field reps' phones that is GPS tracked. So when the field marketers are out in the field going to all these offices, when they're checking into these offices, the GPS is actually confirming that they're there. So I instituted that about 5 years ago. And that's been fabulous because not only, does it give us reassurance that people are doing what they say they're doing, but it also gives me a beautiful report at the end of the month that I export and send to my physicians of who we've seen, who we spoke to, the address, the phone number, all of the relevant information. So it's been a great tool. And what I'm here, I go back and forth, but currently I'm here in South Florida building the team here. I've got a team of 4 field reps in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is a pretty small market. So that's a big team for a small market. And then I'm building the team here in Florida. But let's say a guy in Alaska wanted field marketing. So if he did, what we would do is we would hire somebody on my company would hire them, we would train them, and we would have them use our proprietary software for tracking purposes and reporting purposes. So they would report to us, but they would be geographically in that doctor's area so that they know the area, they know, who's who, they can, leverage anybody that they do know to the benefit of the practice. So we can do it anywhere. I've been doing this for 10 years. It took me probably 5 years to really get it dialed in and working, smoothly in Vegas. And now we're launching into Florida. But yes, we can technically do it anywhere. It's just about hiring the right person, making sure they're trained properly, and then tracking them and making sure that they're doing their job well.
How long does it take to activate a new client?
30 days. So we have a 30-day onboarding process because each client is unique. And what I mean by that is each client has different targets. So remember I said the primary care doctor is the target. Well, yes, but in that geographic area. So we have to pull a database basically of all of the doctors in that geographic area. We create a route for that client, but also a lot of specialists actually refer to other specialists. So for example, if you're a general surgeon, you might get referrals from a pain specialist or a GI doc or other specialists. So not only do we do the primary care, but we can call on other specialists. So when we do the onboarding, we find out every specialty that could possibly refer to that specialist. And then we go out and we create a custom route for that client. So it is pretty labor intensive that first 30 days. And we do ask for a 6-month commitment because it is so labor intensive, but it takes us, a good 30 days to get it onboarded. And then, we order custom treats with their branding on it. So we do all kinds of things, to make sure. We also a lot of times will help the clients with the assets. So, they might not have a referral pad, they might not have a brochure. So we get, within that 30 days, it gives us the opportunity to get those creatives created, printed, and ready to go.
Wow, there's a lot to it. It sounds really fun and exciting. What are some of what's the typical life cycle of how long does a client stay? Because it seems like you're building the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, yes. But I always jokingly say to my clients that my job is to put myself out of a job. Meaning my job is to get you so busy that you don't need me anymore. And that does happen. I had a pain doctor in Las Vegas that I started with, and I'll never forget it because he was fresh out of medical school and all of the insurance panels were closed to new pain doctors. They're like, oh, we're not taking any more pain doctors. We're not taking any more pain doctors. And so I was like, how are we going to get this guy business? And I said, do you speak any other languages? And I knew that he spoke Spanish, but I had a feeling he spoke Spanish. So he's like, well, I speak Spanish. I said, perfect. I said, you're going to call all of those insurance panels that denied you and tell them that you're only one of 2 Spanish speaking pain doctors in Las Vegas. And he got on every insurance panel. Okay. So then he started doing personal injury, also practicing in the personal injury. So I introduced him to all the attorneys in town. And then he got to the point where he had 2 offices, 2 mid-levels. And he was like, I'm good, Ginger. And I was like, God bless, and to this day, because once they get that momentum going and they can only handle so much, right? And most doctors only want to handle so much,
Right.
Some will bring in other doctors and then be able to grow the practice. Some don't want other doctors. Some just want to run it themselves, have their mid-levels do the follow-ups, and then that's good enough for them. So each doctor is unique. Sometimes I'll have a doctor that say, you know what, this has been great and it's brought me a lot of referrals, but I think I'm going to do a billboard now. Okay. Majority of my clients have been with me 3 to 5 years. Most of my clients have been with me for years, and it's because it works. I had a general surgeon share with my reps. They don't share this information with me very often, but they were doing a ride along with one of my reps, and they told my rep that they had gotten 20 surgical referrals the prior month from the work that we're doing for them. And, that is probably 100 times, the value of what we're charging per month. So it warmed my heart to hear that, that they're really getting a lot of referrals from the work that we're doing. And we don't charge physicians a lot because, again, I understand that we need to keep it reasonable in order for them to afford to bring us in.
Gosh, that is really cool. I love the business model. One of the things that I tell our staff, our sales team, and our account managers is we don't want to have clients that don't want to be clients, right? What are some examples of a client that's a really good fit for you, that's a good match for you, versus a client that you would say, gosh, you know what, we're just not going to be working together in this lifetime?
Absolutely. So a good client for me is somebody that wants to outsource their services and feels comfortable and confident in our ability to do that work. A an example of somebody that is not a good client, and I have a perfect example, is a client I had way back in the beginning when I started. I have two examples actually. One was a guy that wanted us to like text his manager the business card of every office that we went to, and he wanted his office manager to stop what she was doing and call that office and say, hey, my team was just there. And I said, your expectations are unrealistic, and your office manager is busy and we're busy, and we don't have time to be stopping what we're doing and taking a picture and sending the card. And I said, to be honest with you, doctor, I said, it really sounds like you need somebody in-house that you can micromanage. And he said, absolutely, you're right. And I said, and that's why we're not a good fit. And that's okay. That's
Right.
okay. There's personalities like that want to be very in control and micromanage every detail of their practice. Most physicians are not like that because they're too busy. They're like, Ginger, you do the marketing, just get the patients coming in. That's all I care about. Okay. But there are these outliers that want to control every aspect of the business, and that's okay too. And then I had another physician that we had started with them, and we were creating a brochure for them. We were in our first 30 days of setup. And I remember going into the meeting with him. It was, shortly into the first month. And he's like, so what is my ROI? And I said, excuse me?
Gosh.
And he said, what's my ROI? I said, we haven't even finished the brochure. I said, well, ROI, there is none because we haven't had a chance to even go out and market for you. But I could just, because he didn't really understand. And I told my, and physicians will ask me, how long is it going to take, Ginger, for this to produce? And I'm honest with them. I'm like, it's going to take probably 90 days. It's not going to happen in the first 30 days. It takes time for us to get out there, build these relationships, get people to know about you. So, but, people often ask me, who are your most successful physicians? And I always say to them, the most successful ones are the ones that have been with me the longest, because it's consistent marketing over a long term. That is, we know the turtle wins the race, right? So and I always tell my physicians too, it's a marathon, not a race. I mean, if you are in this for the short term, then we're probably not a fit. Marketing should be incorporated, it should be a part of your bottom line for the life of the practice, whether it's with me or somebody else.
Right.
It's not just about me, it's just about their business model needs to have marketing as incorporated forever until they're
Are
too busy that they don't need marketing.
Makes sense. Are there particular specialties that you demonstrate far and away much quicker success with versus specialties that you're like, gosh, you know what? It doesn't necessarily make sense for us because we just can't get the traction in a reasonable amount of time.
So there's specialties that are saturated in the sense that, like, there's, for example, a lot of pain docs. Okay. So that's going to be a harder thing for us to convert and get more business for. And then there's what I call the super specialists, the super subspecialties, which is like the neurosurgeons of the world. They're so few and far between that they don't need a ton of marketing because they're the only neurosurgeon in town. Right. So, the answer to your question is we work great with businesses that need business. Right. So, or that are trying to get a piece of their market share. So, pain doctors, has been a consistent one that we've been able to help over the years. General surgeons, vascular surgeons, orthopedic surgeons, OBGYNs, those are kind of your typical specialties that always need a new influx of patients, right? Because OBGYNs, once the patient has the baby, guess what? We better have more pregnant people coming into the practice, right? So there's those specialties that are always needing fresh blood. And then you've got those super subspecialties that, they get referrals because of the high level of their expertise. And so they don't typically hire us. Like, I don't have a neurosurgeon. I would love a neurosurgeon, but I've never had one.
Sure.
I have a lot of neurologists because those are, a turnover type of practice where you're getting a lot of people that, are having headaches or having, issues, neurological issues. And so that's something that, you do need to keep feeding the beast, if you will.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you have in terms of running your agency?
Oh, the biggest challenge. I think the biggest challenge is just staying on top of all of the processes and staying on top of all of the workflow management, all the routes, all the reports, all the, the staff, making sure that everybody's, people get sick, people go on vacation. And then, we do have turnover, we lose clients, we gain clients. So onboarding is always labor intensive. So I think just kind of the hardest part of the job, really is just keeping up and making sure that we're doing a good job of doing what we do well. And I have a director of operations who is tremendous at, operations and procedures. And so she's really taken the company to the next level with SOPs and software and things that help us run more efficiently. But those are big investments, and those, are also always painful to implement because they're expensive, they're labor intensive. And then I'll say for the field marketers, I know a lot of people probably say, oh, that sounds like a glamorous job. It's really not. I mean, when you're especially in Las Vegas, you're working in the summer, it's 120 degrees. You're getting in and out of your car every 5 minutes. You're going in and you're talking to people who don't want to see you. They're having a bad day. They're being rude. It can be a hard job. It can, seem glamorous. I mean, in the sense that, you can work your own hours and you got some autonomy and all of that, but you really do have to be able to handle, managing your time, dealing with people being rude, the weather, and all of that. So it's not as glamorous as it sounds.
Got it. If there was one thing that you could tell your yourself, your prior self 10 years ago, what would that be?
You mean me personally or as a business owner?
As a business owner.
I've struggled, to be honest with you, with net profit. So I think, if I were to tell myself, 10 years ago, to focus on net profit, would have been, I'm a philanthropist by nature. I'm involved in a lot of philanthropy, and I pay my people really well, and I want to have good people. So I've always run the company on very low profit margins. And I met with a business consultant recently who's actually a friend of mine. He's his wife was my client. She's my friend. She's an OBGYN, and he's an MD, but he didn't practice medicine. He went into business. He went and got his MBA, and he's a business guy, and he's like a finance guy. And so we started talking about my business, and he said, let me ask you a question, Ginger. Is your business a hobby or is it a business? I said, well, it's a business. And he said, well, you got to run it like a business, And so my personality is the type to give away the farm. So that's my biggest challenge. In personal life, I always say, it's not what you make, it's what you save. Well, the same applies in the business model, which is it's not what you make, it's what your net profit is and what you're actually showing at the end of the month. But I'm getting better. And, it's always been kind of the Costco model, we provide really good services at a low price and we pay our people well.
Right.
That's hard to have a nice net profit at the end of the day, but Costco does it on volume. So that's my plan, is to scale so that I can keep the rates reasonable for the physicians. I can still pay my people well, but we'll make money on volume.
Got it. Got it. Where do you see your space changing in the next 12 to 24 months? Are there a lot of other agencies that are doing what you're doing? I would imagine it's difficult to execute.
It's really difficult to execute. So no, there are not a lot of people that do what I do as far as the field marketing, because it's so hard to execute and also hard to manage. But what I see changing in the next, 12 to 24 months is on my digital agency side. So AI has really had a huge impact on, my business model. We don't foresee it replacing any jobs at my company, but it's definitely enabled us and given us the ability to work smarter, not harder. It's helping us streamline processes, reduce workloads, generate reports, do evaluations, enable copywriting to become fun again. So AI is really, I haven't figured out a way to integrate it into my field marketing yet, but I'm sure my director of operations, Michelle Ballon, will figure out a way, because she's an AI junkie. She's like in all these AI masterminds. And so, yeah, that's going to have a big effect, I think, on all of us as, at marketing agencies.
Is there a book that you would recommend to others that has had an impact on you?
A book. Oh my gosh, I read so many business books. I love all the old guys, the Think and Grow Rich and, the originals. So, and I mean, and there's a lot of new great ones, but, Think and Grow Rich comes to mind. It's, one of my all-time favorites. So yeah, I have to go with that one.
That one. Okay. What keeps you up at night?
Oh my gosh. So wondering what I need to do to help my clients more. It happens every night almost, and I found a way to deal with it, but almost every night I lay my head on the pillow, and right before you go to sleep, when you're just getting to that point where you go to sleep, I start thinking about what I need to do for all my clients. Like this one, I need to, do this and I need to do that. And it really starts to like cause me, I start thinking, how am I going to remember that I need to do this in the morning? So I have a new technique that I've come up with to help me sleep. And what it is I've decided that I write my notes. So if I have these things that are keeping me up at night, I actually grab my phone and I put it in my notes, and then my assistant sees it in the morning, and then she, puts it on my to-do list or on our to-do list of things that we need to do. And it has helped tremendously. I don't watch the news or anything. I stopped watching the news 30 years ago. So I'm not kept, even though I know what's going on because I'm on social media and my friends tell me what's going on. I'm not kept up at night by worldly events per se, but I am kept up at night thinking of, the 12 million things I need to do for my clients tomorrow.
Very cool. Very cool. Ginger, this has been such a fun conversation. I think we might need to have a part 2 of this at some point.
I don't know if there's much more to say. In fact, when Eileen referred me, I'm like, marketing, who wants to talk about marketing? It's so boring. But I did want to tell you, if I could, a little bit about my purpose, because it's not just helping businesses grow their business. One of the blessings that I've had in my business is being able to help moms raise their children and work from home or work remotely or work in the field. And I have a team of about 20 women on my team, and all of them have kids. And so that's just become part of my purpose, is helping moms be able to stay home and raise their kids and work. And so it's been a nice blessing, in addition to helping my clients become more successful, of course, which is my primary purpose, but I had the secondary purpose that came along. So that was really nice.
That is interesting. Are those folks primarily in the US, or are they all over?
Mostly, yes. I have majority of my team is US based. I do have a few gals in the Philippines, and I just love working with those gals in the Philippines, not just because they live in a third world country and they really need the work, but they're smart. Oh my gosh, these girls are so smart. They speak English, they know tech. They're always trying to learn more. And so I'm proud to incorporate international teams, and I probably will hire more. And my US based team is great. And I continue to hire US based people as well, but it's nice to have a mix. I like having a mix.
Very cool. Really cool. Really cool. Listen, thank you so much for your time. It's been real.
Thanks for having me.
And I think a lot of folks that are listening will feel inspired from your story, how you started, why you started, the fact that you have a purpose, that just the amount of work, effort, energy. You clearly seem like somebody who's pouring their heart into it, blood, sweat, and tears, and making something that has a lasting impact on clients. And I think it also helps anyone listening to level up their game after listening to your story. So thank you very much. This has been great.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.